WNBA.
If we cannot speak honestly about what is happening on the court without risking the entire game's paycheck, then what exactly is the league office protecting? Is it protecting the integrity of women's basketball, or is it protecting the corporate image of the executive offices? Those powerful words echo throughout the media room, sending shockwaves across the sports world and setting the stage for what many described as an unprecedented institutional confrontation. In music, welcome back to the ultimate destination for passionate women's basketball fans. This is the place where we don't simply repeat the headlines or read the official box scores. Instead, we examine the controversies, front office decisions, league policies, and administrative actions that continue to shape the sport and affect the athletes fans support every single night. The growing controversy has sparked intense debate, leaving basketball fans searching for answers. According to these reports, the league office has attempted to enforce its policies through increasingly severe financial penalties. The reported timeline began with a $25,000 fine issued on a Tuesday morning following post-game comments criticizing officiating standards. According to the reports, when those involved refused to back away from the criticism, the penalty was reportedly increased to $50,000 within 48 hours, citing alleged violations involving the league's reputation. The reports further claim that the commissioner's office later imposed a reported $100,000 joint fine while warning that additional suspensions could follow if similar comments continued. Before we examine the reported details and discuss how these figures may connect to broader league policies, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and join our growing community of basketball fans who enjoy following the biggest stories surrounding the game. Music, many observers have compared the situation with how other professional sports leagues handle criticism from players and coaches. The NBA, for example, publicly releases its last 2-minute reports to acknowledge officiating mistakes, while several major European soccer leagues often allow coaches to openly criticize officiating without facing the most severe financial penalties. According to critics, the WNBA has instead responded with significant fines for public criticism while facing separate questions about physical incidents that resulted in relatively minor disciplinary action. Supporters often point to several recent on-court plays in which players were shoved out of bounds or involved in dangerous basketball situations that ultimately resulted in common fouls or limited league discipline, fueling continued debate among fans about consistency and accountability. Why is an athlete's honest criticism treated as a threat to the sport itself, while serious concerns about player safety are, according to critics, too often brushed aside? That question has fueled intense debate throughout the basketball community. Thousands of fans have reportedly signed online petitions, while social media has become filled with calls for greater transparency and accountability from league leadership. Many observers argue that the controversy has produced what is often described as the Streisand effect. Music, according to those critics, attempts to suppress discussion through significant financial penalties have only drawn more attention to the very issues the league hoped would fade from public view. This brings the conversation back to a central question. If future information or internal documents were ever to emerge suggesting that league officials prioritize protecting the organization's public image over addressing player concerns, would the commissioner reconsider the reported $100,000 fine? Or could the league eventually face unprecedented resistance from players themselves? At the same time, these reports arrive as major broadcasting rights negotiations continue behind closed doors. According to reports, several television partners are closely monitoring how ongoing controversies could affect future viewership, sponsorship, and long-term business stability. Critics argue that the league risks treating its biggest stars more like carefully managed corporate representatives than independent professional athletes with the freedom to express their opinions. They question how long any sports league can continue thriving if its most recognizable players feel increasingly limited in speaking publicly. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe the reported $100,000 fine went too far? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more basketball coverage. To better understand why this controversy continues to grow, many analysts have focused on the broader relationship between league leadership and its players. According to critics, there has been a growing gap between the league's public messaging and the experiences described by some athletes. League promotions highlight sold-out arenas, rising attendance, record merchandise sales, music, increased television ratings, and expanding corporate partnerships. Supporters of the players, however, argue that those accomplishments have been driven primarily by the athletes themselves rather than administrative leadership. According to these discussions, when Sophie Cunningham spoke publicly following the game, instead of delivering what critics describe as a carefully managed public relations response, she shifted attention toward larger questions about officiating, league policies, and player treatment. Her comments extended beyond one disputed call. Supporters argue they reflected broader concerns about officiating standards, public narratives, and whether all players receive equal treatment. According to reports, the initial $25,000 fine was viewed by some as a warning intended to discourage similar public criticism throughout the league. When Caitlin Clark later expressed similar concerns, many observers believe league officials realized the original disciplinary action had not ended the conversation. According to reports, the reported increase to a $50,000 fine within 48 hours reflected growing concern inside the league office. Critics argue that escalating financial penalties were intended to discourage additional public criticism by increasing the personal cost of speaking openly. When those discussions reportedly continued, league officials eventually imposed the reported $100,000 joint fine. According to many observers, the controversy had evolved beyond a disagreement over post-game comments into a larger debate over who ultimately controls the public narrative surrounding women's basketball. Some analysts believe that timing of these reported disciplinary actions may also relate to ongoing media rights negotiations. Broadcasting partners often value stability and predictable public messaging. Music. According to critics, league leadership may have hoped that strong disciplinary action would reassure business partners that public disputes would remain under control. Others argue that approach risks creating an atmosphere where players feel pressure to carefully monitor every public statement. Music critics say the possibility raises important questions about whether athletes can openly discuss officiating or player safety without fearing financial consequences. Many also compare these reported penalties with previous disciplinary decisions involving on-court physical play. According to those critics, some dangerous basketball plays have resulted in relatively limited discipline, leading to continued debate over whether public criticism receives stronger punishment than certain physical incidents. Music. That comparison has become one of the central arguments raised throughout the controversy. Supporters of greater transparency argue that, while protecting the league's reputation remains important, protecting player safety should always receive equal attention. Ultimately, what many observers believe league officials underestimated was the determination of today's sports fans. Rather than ending the conversation, the controversy has generated even greater public interest, expanded debate across social media, and intensified calls for greater accountability, consistency, and transparency throughout professional women's basketball.